One thing I like to mention is when it comes to making jewelry, a lot of our manufacturers make the jewelry in the United States. So if that's important to you, we've chosen purposely manufacturers who, not all of them, but we try to manufacture as much here in the United States as possible, keep the business here. So a little bit of history. I started in 1980. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I was going to Bible college in Owatonna. I was headed for the ministry. So my education is a Bible major, pastorology, Greek, and music minor. And here I am. So I don't know how that worked, but so that's kind of how that works. So then in 1995, I'm kind of skipping ahead, we bought Faribault Jewelers. Some of you old timers might remember Faribault Jewelers here in the mall. That used to be a Paffrath, and then it was renamed, I think, in like 1984 or something, Faribault Jewelers. And unfortunately, in 1994, the owner actually had a heart attack and died. And so we ended up purchasing the store from his widow in 1995. And then in 2004, we changed our name. In 2008, many of you remember that we moved to, we call it the big store down by A&W down there. And then the recession hit, like right after we moved. So we tripled our size and the recession hit. So we were at a little bit of a bind because all of our expenses were increased and our business was decreased. So we struggled for those 3 years, and then we moved to here in 2011. And then in 2014, 3 years ago, we opened the Owatonna store. So that's a real brief history of our store. So a couple things. I had mentioned and talked to a few of you that our business is changing, like a lot of yours, and we have to change with the times, or we'll be left in the dust, right? So a couple things that are that have changed is I'm holding in my hand, and you should probably get around to see, and we have some of that case. This is a lab-grown diamond. So they're actually making diamonds now instead of having to go dig in a big, huge hole with really heavy machinery. So these are sold for eco-friendly purposes, but these can also, they've been doing this actually for about 20 to 40 years, but now they've gotten it to where they actually, these are like 15 to 30% less than the natural diamonds. These are real diamonds. They're chemically, optically, and physically the same. It's just they're not dug out of the ground.
Can they be made identical? All diamonds identical? Or
no, they still have different characteristics, different flaws, and different color. And still, the 4 C's of diamonds still applies, because even though they're made by a machine, the machine isn't making them, you know, stamping them out identical like that. So they still have different grades and everything, which is why I say it's 15 to 30% less. Because it's really hard to compare 2 diamonds, right? No 2 diamonds are actually exactly the same. So we could talk more about it. Ask some of my staff; they'd be happy to show you some of those. So one thing I want to talk about is how, and then I'll be done, is how the jewelry, the computers have impacted our industry. So in 1992, and around that time, I actually worked for someone who we put the first, I believe it was the first computer-aided design program into the Mall of America in 1992 when the mall opened in August of 1992. It was I kind of describe it as Photoshop for jewelry. It was 2-dimensional. It's basically cut and paste, you know, but that was big in 1992. We were able to take pictures of jewelry and it was all to scale, which was a big deal. Because if I sit down and try to draw, and I can draw like a design for you, making it to scale is the toughest thing. So we started doing that in 1992. It was called Digital Goldsmith was the program. But then since then, things have been introduced like 3D design. So it's gone from 2-dimensional to 3D, and I'm going to show you a 3D design program. But then it's gotten actually into 3D manufacturing, which means 3D printing and 3D. I have it in a little. I have a little sample if you want to see it. But once we design something in 3D, in order to manufacture it, in order to make it, we have to make a mold, right? So that mold can be made by a wax printer, which basically grows a wax, almost like an inkjet printer. It would go across, we'd enter that 3D file, that computer file, into a computer program. The wax printer would come across, it would not lay down wax, let's say if the ring is this shape, then it would lay down a little wax, stop, lay down a little wax, and then keep going, like a printer would, like the old dot matrix printer. Remember those? But it has to go slow enough so that wax dries before the next pass. Okay, so it takes like 8 hours to grow a wax that way. Then they have milling machines. I call it Edward Scissorhands because they take a piece of plastic and then they have all these milling tools, and it just carves basically the plastic out of a piece of plastic with these little sharp instruments and drills and cutting tools and that sort of thing. That machine costs about $40,000, so we don't have it. We do hire that part of that out. So once you have the plastic or the wax, then you can cast that into gold. But now the next step, the next innovation, you've heard of 3D printing. Okay, so this is actually, they can actually take, it hasn't hit the store level yet, but in the manufacturing world, they can actually take that 3D file and they can hook up to a machine. It can actually cut the metal ring out of using the 3D. And then there's 3D imaging. This also hasn't hit the store yet, but it will. And that is, I could take a ring, and if I want to make a perfect wedding band to go up next to it, the only way for me to perfectly fit that is I have to have that here. Okay, well now they can do it. They can take an image, 3D image of that ring, and then they can make a ring that will fit up perfectly up to it. Especially if you have a curve on your ring or something to make a wedding band, they need that curve to be perfect. Right now we're taking side impressions in wax and hand carving it. And so that's what we're doing now. So these are some of the innovations that are happening. So I'm going to give you a very simple example of what we do here at the store. I don't know who else has this program. A lot of jewelers can buy this. We've had it for, I think we bought it early 2000s. This is the next generation, the 3D version of that 2D version I was telling you at the Mall of America. So we have 3,000 actually rings in this program, and we're actually getting the update on Friday and a new computer from Pantheon. The old plug for Pantheon there, but so this is all 3D, and I get these choices over here to the left. Like if I click here, I can choose the finger size. I can change the shape. I'm going to put this on. See, this has those little notches right here. I can change that to just be rounded like that. So that simple little click of the button, if you were designing a house, would take them 2 hours to actually make that little change. I was able to do it in a second. And so we can change the width and so on and so forth to this. So let's say one of you came in and said, I have the grandma's ring, it's all wore out, but I've got these 8 diamonds and I want to put it in a new ring. Instead of us telling you these rings will fit your diamond, we can say pick any ring you want, we'll make the ring fit your diamonds. Okay, so we can change, I can change the number. I'm going to go here to just one thing, and then I'm not going to give you a whole. So let's say you had more diamonds that you wanted to add on the side here. I can simply, by stretching this out, a new diamond will appear pretty soon. We're excited. See the fourth one came up there? Keep going. There's 5. I let go of the mouse. It just now shows you all 5. I can change the width of this ring. I can make diamonds go all the way around. I can change the size. I can change the height. I can change the size of the prongs, anything you want. So that's a very simple model. And so we have a lot of the prototypes of the sample rings here, and we can change any and all of those. So instead of us telling you what rings will fit your diamonds, you can now say, I like that ring, and we'll make that ring fit your diamonds. So very brief demonstration. So then let's say you go, yeah, Mark, I really love that. I want to go. I'm ready to go. I want to do it. I just emailed that to probably the largest jewelry manufacturer in the United States. They're located in Louisiana. And then they produce either a wax printed model or that milling machine, and then they cast it. And I can get it to me blank. I can have them supply the side diamonds. I can set just the center stone. We can do it any way they want. I can get it rough cast. I can get it finished. Any of those. The only stipulation is they're the ones that produce that program. So the only stipulation is they have to actually do the casting of that model. So, and again, made in USA. It's in Louisiana. So, if you have any questions, you can talk to me, maybe one-on-one, unless there's some question that you think is just burning in your soul right now. So, but anyway, did I go longer than 8 minutes? Probably. Oh well.